Tony Robbins is one of America's best-known motivational speakers. GQ magazine called him a force of muscular hope and a diehard believer. He has advised everyone from Andre Agassi and President Clinton to the IBM Corporation and the United States Army. More than 1 million people from around the world have attended his seminars, and millions more have bought his books and tapes and videos. This year, he expanded his vast empire online, launching a new website, dreamlife.com. I am pleased at long last to have him at this table. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Boy, that's quite an introduction.
Well, that's about it, isn't it? Yeah. We'll get to Dream Life in a second.
Sure.
Where did all this begin for you? I mean, how did Tony Robbins become, what was the evolution for you to do and be what you are?
I'm not quite sure what I am. I think that's under construction. But I love people.
Or on the way to becoming, let's say. On the way to becoming.
I've become a lot from where I was. I love people. I always have. I've been the kind of person that I remember when I was very young, my mom told me a story, and she's told it to everybody now since then, that I'd be 5 years old and I'd go to the liquor store to get bread and milk, and I'd come back and she'd say, "Where's the bread and milk?" And I said, "There was a poor man there," and I gave him the money, and she said, "We're poor." It's like I just love people, and so it was a natural outcropping of some frustrations in my own life and wanting to solve them, figure things out, that I looked for solutions, and I looked to books because I didn't have any role models per se. And then as I made changes myself, I'd share that with my friends, and then I saw them make changes and get excited, and I got kind of addicted to the process. I got a lot of love from helping people, and I do now enormously, but now it's millions of people, and I'm addicted to that process, and I think it's a positive addiction. I love to learn, I love to grow, I love to share. By the time I was in high school, I was Mr. Solution, everybody called me. If you had a problem, I had the solution, especially if you're a girl. I had a definite solution.
But what were you driving to be? What did you think was the route when you were in high school?
Well, when I was in high school, I was still hoping to be a professional athlete, so that wasn't working out too well. Because I was very small. I was 5'1", and I started very late. I'm 6'7" now. I tell people the difference is personal growth.
Yes.
But honestly,
I'm exhibit 1 for personal growth.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know. When I was in high school, I early on, about 16 years old, I decided I wanted to become president of the United States. Because I thought, how can I contribute the most to society? And I went to a seminar by a man named Jim Rohn. He's still a seminar speaker. And I took a week's pay. I was working $40 a week as a janitor. And it was $35 for the evening seminar, so it was a big decision. And I listened to him speak, and I came out so inspired because most of what he said I already believed. Now as an authority figure saying you really can be this way. And so I said, I'll become president of the United States. To do that, you've got to be practical. You've got to be a senator. To do that, you've got to be a congressman. To do that, you've got to stay assemblyman. And I worked all the way back to what can I do tomorrow, which was run for student body president. And I wasn't a popular kid. So I ran like a real campaign. I went to all the groups and said, what do you really want? And I won't lie to you. And I went and found out whether we thought it could be done or not. And I said, this won't get done. I think this can. And I won. Yeah. And I started to believe that if you're totally sincere and you care about people and you're real and you work your tail off, you can reach anybody. And so I started to do that. I started speaking. And then it just kind of grew, grew into a business for me eventually. I went to work for Jim Rohn, the speaker. Right. And then I started my own company and I brokered other speakers. And then gradually I became better than most of the people I was brokering. And then I came across tools that other people had developed, where I could take somebody with a lifetime phobia, and instead of taking the traditional 4, 5, 6 years to cure it, I could do it in
15 minutes.
Yeah, 15 minutes.
There's a famous story about something I've forgotten now, but it was somebody had some kind of phobia. What was it?
Snake phobia, yeah.
Snake phobia.
Yeah.
And did under treatment for 7 years, and you did it in 15 minutes.
Yeah, but what made my career was that I was attacked by the psychiatrist on the radio saying, you're a liar, you're a charlatan, people like you should not be allowed on the radio, you can't do this. And so I was a real rebel, frankly, and I was like in his face saying, great, are you a scientist? If you are, then test your hypothesis. Give me your patient. I'll be at the Holiday Inn tomorrow night. So it was like this shootout, and it was like a movie. He brought her, I wiped it out, I wrapped the snake around her. A phobia is an uncontrollable physical response to some stimulus. It's not just fear, it's shaking, spitting. And at the end, she was totally fine. He worked on it for 7 years. So that became my signature, was to challenge. And then gradually I grew because I was really just trying to prove to everybody and myself as well that I was worthy, rather than, maturing a little bit and just knowing that there are skill sets that are valuable for everybody.
I mean, is the common denominator that stops most people because what? I'm not trying to simplify your work.
It's very helpful to do it. I'd say there's two things. Everybody on earth, because I've been with more than 2 million people in individual committed sessions from, the kid to the president, in all countries all over the world, 75 countries. You'd have to be an idiot not to see that there are patterns. while everybody may want different things, you know, you may have grown up wanting life to be a certain way or a different way, we have the same needs worldwide because we're humans. We all need certainty, and we don't have it, we freak out.
What does certainty mean?
Certainty is if you were at a time in your life where you're uncertain about your relationship or your health or your career or your finances, you freak out. It is a survival instinct to be certain. How you get it is totally individual. Some people get up by smoking a cigarette and they relax and they feel certain that they're okay and they're comfortable. Some people by eating, some people by doing drugs. Some people do it by developing a skill set that's so strong. Some people do it by, you know, knowing they can tear other people down. Sure. You know? So everybody meets the need. The only question is, do you do it in a way that is positive, neutral, or negative to your life long term and to other people's lives? So we need certainty, but if we get total certainty, we freak out because we get bored. So God has a sense of humor, and we have a need for uncertainty. We have a need for variety, for surprise, for challenge. Right. And most people go back and forth between these, and that's why they've always got a problem, because they're trying to resolve it rather than finding that this paradox is a part of life and there's a way to experience both. When you go watch a movie and you rent a video that you've already seen, it's because you're certain it's good and you're hoping you forgot enough that there's variety and you get to meet both needs. There's a way to do it. We have a need for significance. We have a need to know that our life is unique and special. So some people do it by putting a gun to someone's head because it takes no education or background. Instantly, I'm significant.
Yeah, because I killed somebody.
Or I threatened someone even. You're going to have to respond to me. I don't have to kill you. Some people do it by loving more than others. Some people do it by developing skill sets. Some people do it by having 22 earrings, you know, in one earlobe.
How do you do it?
Everybody does it. I do it primarily by my sense that, honestly, it sounds horrible, but to be honest, is I feel like I care more than almost anybody else, that I will just do anything for those I love, which includes the guy I meet on the street, frankly, you know, the people I meet in seminars, the people I don't meet. That's my nature. I love that. So I get that sense of significance from that.
In other words, Tony says to himself, I am unique because I care more.
Yeah, which is bullshit. Which is bullshit. I know it's bullshit.
All right.
But I care so much.
But isn't there, so explain that to me. You know it's bullshit, but it is the guiding principle for you because it makes it, you define your uniqueness because
because not only
you
care
say
more,
yourself,
but also
I care more and I'll act more on my caring.
Yeah, and I will produce the result for people.
So where's the bullshit? That there are other people that care more.
Yeah, I know that's bullshit. Yeah. In the moment, we all bullshit ourselves. In the moment, I tell myself that, but I always come back to reality and go, no, I don't care more. But I care enough to be a really unique person, and I also really have some unique skill sets in empowering people. And part of life is the balance between your bullshit and the truth, and getting to the truth as much as
Jim Dickey, the great poet from South, James Dickey, the great poet who wrote a lot of interesting things. And he once said to me that in the middle of the night, his wife, he woke up and his wife said, "What's wrong?" He said, I don't know. And she said, "You've got to be yourself." And he says, I know, but what self?
That's right. Well, listen, if you're not a multiple, you can't survive in this society. You know, if you're a one-dimensional person, you can't. I tell people, you know, in today's society. Anyway, last needs I'll just mention is connection and love. Because if you go for significance, like a lot of people that we both deal with, you know, there's a lot of those people, their whole life was about getting significance. What we all really want is love. But love is a complex thing. You know, it can be taken away very easily. Someone can love you one moment and pretend they don't the next. Much easier to make a lot of money. Much easier to interview somebody. Much easier to do something else that you feel more control over. Because you have
then to do what?
Then to love, where you're vulnerable to what somebody else may think or feel. That's how most people feel, not all. So if you're totally unique, you feel separate and you miss the feeling of love. If you're totally loving, very often people go, God, I'm so loving, but we're one. Now, where's my identity? And you can get that love by having a problem. It's the most common way in our society. So if you said to me, Tony, how's it going? And I said, oh my God, my company went public and I mean, $400 million in a day, and my daughter's on a new TV show, and my son is doing so well, and I'm totally in love, and yada, yada.
This is all true?
and you go, screw you, right?
Yeah.
But if you say, Tony, how's it going? I go, I'm going through a divorce right now. It's the hardest decision of my life. My wife, she's a good woman. To feel her hurt kills me. It's hard on my daughter.
Right.
You know, I'm exhausted. I had 2 hours sleep yesterday. And you go, hey, I understand. So we live in a society where we reward people for having problems. That's why more people commiserate about problems, and then they fight over whose problem is bigger. Because if people do really well, very often what people do is they go, oh, they're into themselves, or what they're really saying is that person is being somewhat significant in their mind, therefore I'm less significant. I want to bring them back to level.
Tell me what you think you need the most. You.
Well, that's a good question, because I think knowing which needs you prioritize shapes the direction of your life.
Exactly. That's why I asked.
So the top 2 of the 6.
You see, you've thought about this. This is not big.
Yeah, of course, because when I deal with someone to help them, I've got to know which ones are driving them.
All right, so you.
For me, love is number 1 and contribution is number 2. The last 2 needs are you must grow and you must contribute beyond yourself. If you don't grow, success doesn't make you happy, progress does. If you don't feel like you're growing, you feel like you're dying. And everything in the universe grows or dies, and everything contributes, or evolution eliminates it. And so we don't feel fulfilled. You can meet those first 4 needs by doing terrible things. You can join a gang and you're a crip. You're significant, baby. You have variety. Somebody may shoot you at any moment. You have certainty. People are going to respond to you. You got connection with the brothers. But you don't really have growth and contribution, so you won't be fulfilled. But you'll have your basic needs be met. Very few people get fulfilled. For me, those are the 2. But if you meet somebody and their need is, let's say Donald Trump's a guy that I know very well, I like a lot. A lot of people don't like Donald because Donald is significance-driven. And so he's got to get that significance.
He's more than that.
No, he's very significant.
It's a very simplistic definition of Donald Trump.
It's overly simplistic. But I tell you, I've known him for last year or 2, and the guy, when he's comfortable, he's such a loving guy. It's amazing.
There's no question he's a lovable guy, but at the same time, he drives you nuts because he's got to put his name on everything.
That's true.
The GM building was a terrific building until he had to plaster Trump. Now, you could argue about Donald that he does that because he'll say my name on it enhances the value of the building. Or he will say putting my name on it, as garish as it is, makes the building, it promotes my name. And anything that enhances my name enhances my brand and my business. And so therefore, these are all appropriate motives. And finally he will say, in the end, and there's something interesting about this. I guess, now I'm transporting all these things that I think he thinks, not what he thinks.
And nobody really knows.
I don't know, exactly. Yeah. He might say also, in the end, I'm so secure that I do it because I want to do it, and in the end, I don't care what you think.
Well, to a great extent, that's absolutely true. He feels he's significant enough to do that.
Exactly.
But if you spend any time with Donald, and Donald sees you're not a person trying to take advantage of him, he is one of the most generous people you ever meet. He's a caring guy. He wants to be cared for like everybody. But most men, Charlie...
and written about.
But most men, listen, all he is a atypical man.
Yeah.
Most men, what's the longest, greatest story in history? The story of the hero, as you well know, and it's almost always, in most cultures, been a male who had to sacrifice everything so he'd be significant enough that he'd be loved. Yeah. So you got these boys who go kill everybody in, the school.
So all of us are doing whatever we do because we want to be heroes?
No. Not everybody has significance as their number one need. See? Those boys in Colorado, who did they kill? All the people who made them feel insignificant. They killed the cheerleaders, the jocks.
They hated too. Yeah, they said that going in. They said that going in.
Right.
They said going in that you made me feel awful, and we weren't accepted by you, so therefore we're going to shoot
insignificant.
You.
But who was it? All those people. They killed other people once they got in stage.
The woman they asked, "Do you still believe in Jesus?" And she said, "Yes."
But what did they give them? A sense of power, total power.
Of course they did. We understand that. But that's why people join gangs, because it gives them identity.
That's my point. But not everybody's driven by that. Some people are more driven by love. Some people are more driven by certainty.
But are you saying to me you're more driven by love than significance?
Without a doubt.
You think so?
I know.
How do you prove it to me?
I don't need to.
Okay, but I want you to.
I'll tell you why.
Give me an example.
I'll tell you why. The reason I can walk in a room of, I just did Silicon Graphics, their top 30 executives, right? Unbelievably skeptical, let's say, just to say the mind.
Because these are smart guys who made a ton of money, and they're saying, what can Robbins possibly teach us that we don't know about life? That's right. He's one more guy coming in. Exactly. He's one more tall guy coming in here telling us the secret to life, and we've already heard it. And not only that, we've practiced it.
Right. Or I go to tomorrow I'm in Boston, I'll have 15,000 people. So in that group, you're going to have every one of the people you can think of. You have people that think I'm an idiot because they came to see somebody else.
This reminds me of my favorite Donald Trump story, which is that he evidently was promoting the fact, and somebody was doing a profile of him, that he had drawn 15,000 people to a meeting in Miami. I think it was. It wasn't 15,000 people coming to see Donald Trump. They came to see because they thought they'd get some secret to life.
Well, I think they came to see Donald, too. But the point is...
it's not what the piece said.
Well, I know it's not what the piece said, but the media isn't always totally accurate.
Oh, come on.
Right? But the point of the matter is, if you look at, what pushes somebody's buttons, it's not what pushes their buttons when people are around, it's what pushes their buttons when no one's around. And so the way you could do it is to talk to people who know me, who work with me, have been with me 15 years. I mean, they'll tell you what drives me. There's no question. I don't have to explain it to them. But the reason I said SGI is...
But you're talking about love for your children, love for the new woman in your life, love for what?
Love for people and life. Love to see people alive.
Way back to the kid thing that you were talking about in terms of giving the money away when you went to the liquor store.
That doesn't change. These guys that went in there, I have the strength to be able to go toe-to-toe with anybody, but I'm not stupid. I go toe-to-toe with you. All you're going to do is fight me. So If I need to show you that, I feel like you're going to come in strong, I'm going to be strong for seconds, and we build some rapport, and then I can say, look.
Look what?
Look, I'm just here to try and help if I can. I don't have all the answers, but here's something there. I don't think, if you try to get up as a speaker, there was a man I used to work with in one of these venues that we did, big events, and we used to put comment sheets in, and he used to get ranked the lowest guy in the group, and they'd say, tear this guy off the stage. And his problem was, everything was about himself, proving how significant he was to everybody. So I went to him and I said, you keep demanding significance. If you will just go out and try to serve, not lead.
Exactly.
Real leaders serve.
I said B. I said
B. I'm sorry, I'm a surgeon.
Yeah.
If you just go out there and share and be and care about these people and try to serve these people instead of position with these people, they will adore you. It's like, here's my experience. If you love people, they will make you significant, because so few people are willing to unconditionally love. So very few people want to do that.
Again, you know everything about this and I know nothing. Having said that.
You're a human being, so you're a practical psychologist.
Having said that, every great trial lawyer I've ever met will tell you the best way, the only way, or the best way, not always the only way, is to say to that jury, help me.
Sure.
Give yourself to the jury. Say to that jury, Jerry Spence says this.
He's brilliant.
I am giving you every ounce of my brain and my energy and my body because, and here it is, I've done everything I can to, and therefore, that goes part of the way in having the jury identify with you, rather than you're the smartest, toughest, meanest guy
all that does is people say, you think you're so significant, I'm going to take you down the side.
Exactly. Right.
But I'll tell you something else, though, honestly, for me. I've only realized this, honestly, in the last 9 months. I've made a lot of changes in my life. And
in the last 9 months?
Last 9 months or so, I've made some distinctions.
Like what?
Like that I've lived most of my life, certainly driven by love, but that my way of doing it has been through sacrifice. The hero's model. That I'll sacrifice everything so people know I really love them.
Me too.
Right. And I realized how insane that is, and yet part of me wouldn't separate. So I've made the decision, I will sacrifice for those I love, but I don't have to every single minute, because I realized unconsciously I was always looking for ways. Now with an audience I do that. I win some people over because I will be on stage for 12 or 14 hours. They don't think they're going to sit for an hour. They have the time of their life because I turn into a rock and roll concert, and physically, with my intensity, humor, everything I can, I give every ounce of my body, my mind, my spirit. If I'm in pain, it's gone. It's totally about them, and they feel it. And I'm working so hard up there, they finally go, well, maybe I could do something here. Maybe I could stand up and really do this thing that he's talking about. It's like what a leader does is you go first. Right. So I won't give that up in that context, but there's a balance where it becomes being a martyr, and that is something I'm not. And in the last 9 months, I realized that.
Or a victim. Or a victim.
Well, I would never be a victim.
Okay, right.
But I have been a martyr, is the truth, without admitting it. But me seeing that, that's not who I am, so you stop it. I think when you can see how you're being, and how you're being is not who you are, you'll change in an instant when you have an awareness of that. But it's hard to change something when you're not aware of it. And so now I feel like I just turned 40, and somebody said, oh, you're doing this and you're doing that, and, you grew a beard and stuff, and people are freaking out over the most stupid little things. And I'm having I'm really having
beard,
fun. Yeah, it's like, what is this, right?
Come on,
I said, I'm having a midlife celebration. And I'm early.
Well, then what is with the beard?
Oh, I just
You just decided you liked it? It was sort of nice, interesting look?
I've never done it.
And why change?
Actually, GQ magazine did an article on me, and they talked about how I was the most clean-cut, perfect. And I read that thing, and I thought,
I don't want to be that.
I'm tired of this. I think I'll try something else. And
but then why a Van Dyke rather than a full whatever?
Just
what's the...
Just a play. It's just for variety.
Yeah.
Something different.
You may shave it off a month from now.
I'm going to shave it off tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
But what's happened is so many people said either look good or they got so freaked out about it because I'm like this icon for some people, be a certain way, that I thought, the rebel me said, I'm going to wear this a little longer then. You should mess with it a little bit. Get a life.
Do you believe that... I've interviewed lots of very accomplished men and women.
Yes.
A number of them say, I could start over tomorrow and do this.
Yes.
Do you believe that you have, through a life process, accumulated enough, for the lack of a better word, success skills, that whatever you did, you could be very good at it?
Yeah,
it's not win-lose here. Be very good at it.
It sounds like an egotistical answer, but all you're really asking me is, do I have absolute certainty within myself? And the answer is yes, not because I'm so bright, but because I have so much life experience. When you've been with millions of people, and I've been on stage with Diane Sawyer's shooting the camera with a business group, this is many years ago, And it was really an important media piece, I thought, for my career, because it was all these corporate executives, and I wanted people to see that I wasn't some rah-rah guy. I hate the word motivation, by the way, because it's not what I really do. I really see myself as a strategist, and that's what I do. But because I use energy also, and that's easier for the camera to capture, that's really what it becomes, and people don't know where else to put it. So that's a motivational thing. So while they're filming this top CEO, who's like, you know, very, very celebrated, and they go, wow, this is great positioning. This woman in the room, who had 152 personalities, multiple personality disorder, right, MPD, starts splitting.
152?
152. She was one of the first MPDs in the country.
Yeah.
She starts splitting, and she starts talking like this weird thing, then a little boy and a little girl. And I'm like, oh my God, you know. But I got up.
But she was a manager, was she?
No, this woman had managers, but she was someone from the general population attending the program. Fortunately, I'd read her forms, and it took me 45 minutes, and I did, you know, sometimes you just get in state, and I did some of the most magical work I've ever done, and I integrated her for the first time. She'd been in a psychiatric ward for 15 years. She'd been studied by everybody, been in therapy for all these years. And Diane Sawyer people saw it, so it was magic as they captured it. They didn't do the story for a year. They followed her for a year because they said, there's no way this can stick. They interviewed her psychiatrist. A year later, she's totally fine. She's still totally fine. That was such a defining moment. You have events like that. It's such a defining moment that your level of certainty that you can handle anything goes to the roof.
Okay,
and I've had thousands of experiences like that. I've had, you know, the President of the United States calls me up the night of the inauguration. I wish it was the inauguration. The night of the impeachment. You know, got to deliver. What are you going to do? You know, I've had the sports figure melting down.
So what's the conversation? He calls you up the night of the impeachment.
Right.
In other words, they're going to vote tomorrow.
That's right.
And says what?
I'm not saying it to try and
you're not at all.
mysterious or something like that. I don't talk about what someone says unless they talk about it. So athletes or, you know, Quincy Jones, somebody shared something, I share it. But the reason people call me is because they don't share that private conversation.
Why did the president call you?
He called because
what
he
do
was
you
trying
need?
to.
What do you need?
He's getting coaching from a lot of different people,
Right.
me being only one of them. About
See, I find this smart. I mean, I think you know he's reaching out sort of
to many different sources, which is great.
So, but the question is what?
What do you? Well, the question in essence is, what do you do?
Right.
You know, how do you deal with something? And you've got choice points, and how do you evaluate?
So, what's your
choice
advice
points?
in a circumstance like this? Specific.
Depends. Listen to you. You think you're going to win right in there, don't you? I know you're good, but for God's sakes. No, I'm not going to answer the question, but let me just ask you that question.
Specifically,
what you do is
what did you tell the president?
I share with the president my point of view as a citizen in that case with as much passion as I can about what
okay, but
is right.
That's the attitude. What did you say specifically?
That I can't tell you in that situation.
You can't? I'm not asking you what the president said. I'm saying, what did you say?
Because what I say would be reflective of what is private between he and I in that conversation. I'm not trying to be evasive. I'm just being respectful.
Okay, I hear you, and I respect that. Now, but just what's
the point is, my point
exactly.
was not that issue. The point is I've had situations, so many, from the psychiatric situation to, you know, where you got to deliver now to a now, and you got to step up and deliver. I've been in situations where I look like I'm going to be bankrupt. I've been in situations.
I got it. So my point is, what do you say? In other words, I think this is a very important point. Here it is, you're facing some huge, and it doesn't get any huger than, well, it does, but I mean, it can do with the loss of family.
Yeah,
that's as tough as it gets. Someone told me a conversation today, and they were talking about the loss of a young son.
Yes.
And they said, this is a very public, popular, well-known person, said the agony is unbelievable. You cannot ever, whatever pain I've felt in my life, this is 100 times it.
I just did a program.
Lose a child.
I just did a program in Palm Springs. I do a program called my university program. I have people from 75 countries come, and 6 languages are translated simultaneously. So it's the most diverse environment you can imagine. It's a seminar on discovering what are the beliefs and values that control every decision you make every moment you're alive. Because you don't make decisions in a random vacuum. They come from your system of evaluation. You're trying to meet the same needs, but you have a different system of evaluation than I do. That's why we make different decisions. Most of us don't know why and how. One of the things I do is a very powerful demonstration is I look for someone who's suicidal, and in a group that large, there's always a couple. And they usually do about 20 pages of homework about the most significant events of their life, decisions they've made. So I read that in advance. It's a very intensive individual seminar. This last one, I had a woman who's lost her daughter, exact same thing. And I tried many things to get her through it, but eventually I had to become her. I had to, like, reverse roles, have her become me and become her, you know, to get her out of that state.
How do you do that?
It's you know, we are always going through hypnosis, you and I. People watching, you know, when they go in hypnosis, watch somebody go in an elevator, they push a button, they look at the ceiling and stand there. Most people drive in hypnosis. Hypnosis means you focus internally instead of outside. And when you focus internally, you tend to evaluate things very differently. So all I do is I ask some questions, and when you ask somebody a question, they go inside. And when I ask those questions, I then start acting like she's acting. And then I said, you're me now. And that's all I do is you're me. And then I don't let her be herself. But in doing it, I took on her physiology. I began to breathe like she was breathing, put the look on my face she's having. Now, when you adopt someone's physiology, you literally begin to feel what they feel. And I actually, and one of my seminars, teach people to do this as a way of building rapport, and you will, a third of the people see what that person's seeing. Somebody they've never met, and they go, you're on a boat, and there's a child with blonde hair, and they're wearing something red, and the name is Charles, and the person freaks out. This happens about a third of the time, no exaggeration. So, and most of the time, they get the same feeling. I felt what she's feeling. I started spontaneously just crying hysterically, which was kind of a freak out because I was trying to help her. I eventually was able to help her, but I have done this for 24 years of my life, and I deal with suicide every time there, and turn them around, show why the person is suicidal.
You can spot them.
Oh, it's not difficult. One guy in the same room.
But is it all demeanor? It's all the way they...
No, it's all demeanor. Sometimes people have great external demeanor, but I've read their forums and I know what's going on in their life, right? And then sometimes they just volunteer. I'd say, who is suicidal here, you know? And someone's hysterically, and they'll raise their hand because it's their last chance, their last hope. You know, there was one man in the same room who was going to commit suicide and kill his children because he couldn't leave them here alone. So I had to go after him. And you go, God, these are the people who attend your seminars? Well, most people are going to peak performance, total achievers, but even amongst achievers it's there.
Do you do this in front of everybody else? In other words, you got 15,000 people there, and you...
Not 15,000 is a different type of event.
Is this like 100 or 50?
1,000 is the smallest thing I do, yeah. So,
oh, wait, come on. 1,000 is the smallest thing you do?
That is the most intimate environment I'm in at this stage, yeah. So,
really? And why is that? Because why?
Because there's so many days in my life, and I want to reach as many people as I can. And I started with 100 and thought I couldn't do more than 100. I got to 1,000, and to be able to support people at that individual level, it's hard to go beyond. I'm sure I could.
But you don't do one-on-one counseling for people?
I do. I do coaching. I was with a guy today who's a financial trader. He made $500 million in a day and then lost money for many years. So I turned him around, and he's done extremely well. So
you turned him around?
Yeah, he made money from the very first. I worked with him for 6 years. I helped him to identify when he was at his very best how he made decisions, and that was affected by two things: his cognitive processes, the way he evaluated, right, and his state. Meaning, we all have times in our life, I'm sure even you have done this here, when you say something.
That's not be so quick.
Oh, you know, no, maybe not. But when you've done something, and after you've done it, I can't believe I said that, I can't believe I did that, so stupid. But you've also had times where after you've done something, you were like, that was me, I'm impressed. I don't know how I did it, but I'm impressed. Right. So it's not ability, it's the state you're in. So I helped him figure out what he was doing when I was at his peak performance. I did that by watching videos of him, by interviewing people around him, and I found out what he was doing with his body. When you're in a certain state, when you're in a passionate state, you move differently, you breathe with him, you talk differently than when you're really feeling depressed.
Now, is this like visualization in part?
No.
No?
No, it's every emotion you have, you only experience by your body. If I said there's a depressed person behind camera number 1, tell me what their posture's like without looking. I bet you know.
Oh, sure.
Now, okay, now how do you know that? Because to create depression, you have to drop your shoulders. You have to drop your breath.
It's just that people are not sort of like this.
That's right. And if you take somebody who's depressed and you just change their physiology, as overly simplistic as that is, in that instant, you will change their state completely. Now, you can't just change their physiology. You then have to change their beliefs.
That's why a lot of actors will look at a walk to get into the character.
That's correct, because they'll start to actually feel it. But so why not look at the walk you want, the life you want, and emulate that physiology? Because
that sounds so easy.
I know. No one wants the easy answer, even when it's real.
Okay, well, is it real?
It's absolutely real.
That you just adopt the walk that you want? And I mean, here's the interesting example about this. I don't know whether it's true or not, but I use it frequently. The notion of George Patton. George Patton visualized, assumed, thought about what a great general ought to be. Now, he adopted certain external manifestations in terms of the clothes, in terms of the pearl-handled revolver, in terms of all that stuff. But he, in a sense, became what he had imagined.
Well, here's what I tell people.
Is that true or not true?
I believe it's totally true. If I said to you, Charlie, close your eyes, and I want you to imagine an 82-year-old man. Just imagine what he's like.
Cary Grant.
Okay. Very nice. That was good. I'm impressed. That was good. Touche. I'll do that in a seminar, and then I'll bring out a man who's 82, I know, who bench presses 410 pounds and looks like he's 50. And I say, is this what you pictured? What most people picture is somebody older, bunched over. And
wrinkled,
I say,
prune-like.
that is the archetype you're moving towards. We all
so
have
you
an
better,
archetype.
yeah. See, the interesting...
But that's not the only thing. It's physiology. It's not only physiology. But in this case of this man, you got to change his physiology to get his state back so that his mind starts working. And so that's a combination of biochemistry and movement. Then you got to take the mental strategies that worked, and that's how I got him to make money. And so, I mean, I've been with him for 6 years.
You've been working with this guy for 6 years?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't take early?
No, it did, but he pays me $1 million a year plus a percentage of his increase because last year I said to him, look.
Wait a minute. He pays you $1 million
that's
a year.
That's what I get for coaching.
Percentage and
of his increase.
Of his increase.
Right.
So if he went, I mean, is this 10%, 20%? What is this?
No, but it's sizable. It's not a sizable percentage. It's a sizable
How many of these
amount of money.
clients do you have?
I've had 7, and I've pared them down because I couldn't honestly service them at the level they want.
Okay, I'm not making fun of it. I'm saying this is amazing. Because here's my point.
Yeah.
It's got to be worth it to him.
Well,
or he wouldn't pay you.
Last year I told him, I said, look, now we're like best friends. I said, A, I'd do this for free. B, the amount of time I spend, it costs me. This is worth this to me at this stage of my life. Why don't you just do it yourself? Because I know what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, because he journals every day.
And I can do other things to make that money.
Well, not only that, but I just
mean it that way.
But he said to me,
my time is valuable to me, too.
Yeah, but it's not that, because I enjoy being with him. I just don't want to be a taker in any relationship.
So you said what, and he said what?
He says to me, are you insane just knowing you're going to call? He said, you're my insurance policy. He said, I know I got to do it. He said, it's an insurance policy. It's a measurement.
This is a weak human being.
Oh, if you met this man, you would not say that.
Well, it's true, though.
Not even slightly.
He needs your call?
No, what he needs to maximize his potential is something to measure it on a regular basis.
But why can't at some point we put this guy out on his own?
He absolutely can, but he performs a level most people never dream of. So let me ask you a question. If I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be the best hero in the world, am I going to use every resource?
Michael Jordan does not need you every time he goes out. Hello.
This person doesn't need me either every time he goes out. I'm not there going out.
But he's just saying, he just said to you, I wait for the phone call.
No, he didn't say wait for the phone call. Knowing I'm going to call makes him maximize. Why did Michael Jordan have a coach?
Because he wants to please you?
Why did Michael Jordan have a coach? Why did Michael Jordan say one of the reasons he was leaving?
The coach didn't tell him how to shoot and didn't tell him how to play.
No, the coach told him absolutely what he needed to do in situations where he saw little things that were off target. Yeah. And Michael Jordan as a coach.
A better example is there's a profile of Harmon in today's paper who is Tiger Woods' coach, and he's over there, and they're, I mean, I understand that process.
So, but what you're doing is you're making it as dependency rather than coaching. But what I say to him is, here's the real truth, though, also. Everybody needs a coach. I have people to coach me. Everybody does.
Man, I need him. I wish I had them.
Are you a weak son of a gun? What's the matter with you?
Well, no, it's true.
You're waiting for them to call?
I don't know where to go. Damn it, I don't know where to go. I'm calling you tomorrow because I could think about how much better I could be.
No, but what it is
in terms of maximizing my performance, understanding my inner self. What?
Well, not even that. In his performance, the 250 hitter versus the 333 hitter. The 250 hitter the 333 hitter gets one more hit every 12 at bats. The 250 hitter makes $500,000 a year, a lot of money, but not in baseball. Okay. 333 makes $7 million. So
now here's the question.
One more hit makes a difference.
Here's the question.
Yeah.
Is it that you can take people who have the natural potential and who are, because of all kinds of things, they're not realizing the natural potential, and they've got all kinds of barriers that have gotten in the way, all kinds of atrophy and everything else, and you can strip that away and give them or transfer to them or whatever the term.
Uncovered. They already have
uncovered. Okay, that's my point. But they got to already have it.
Everybody
you can't take somebody who is born, who will never be better than a 250 hitter because that's the max of his athletic ability, and make him into a 320 hitter.
No,
can you?
No.
So you're only taking people who have not maxed out of their potential by a wide margin.
Who do you think that is?
99% of the world.
Thank you. But here's the truth.
All right.
Most of us have undersold ourselves.
Yeah.
On a very deep level, whether it be how much passion we really could have in our life, whether it be how vitally healthy we could be.
I agree.
And so what's happening is everyone has that, including me. So I look for those coaches. I believe who you are is who you spend time with. That the quality,
who you are is who you spend time with.
Yeah, who you spend time with is who you become. Because whoever you spend time with affects your beliefs and your values, and your need for their love, their attention, their significance will affect. If I'm going to play tennis and I play someone worse than I am on a regular basis, I am not going to get better.
Right. So you play Agassi.
Yeah, and you do that. Even if you play terrible, your skill sets are going to grow significantly because of your desire to connect and to play at that level. So I personally believe mentoring is the biggest thing missing from our society. A huge part of what I do in terms of my foundation's work is mentoring for kids because people say, well, we should do something about the values of the family. Well, that's a nice discussion, but the thing you can do is a relationship with a child where you just care about them. You don't have to be the most skilled person. You don't have to be perfect. All you got to do is care and be honest. Transforms a child's life. And most children today have more choices than any time in human history and the least amount of guidance that's ever existed. And that's why we have a crisis where we have kids picking up guns and shooting people, because we don't have that.
So go give me the Robbins solution. I agree with you 100%. So tell me what it is that America should be doing for its children, and if it's mentoring, how do you go about it?
What's
the mechanism? What's the process?
There's lots of them. I mean, you can just, as an individual, you can go out and have a lunch buddy. You can take somebody and say, for the next 6 months, I'm going to take this child out twice a month for lunch and just talk and maybe do a field trip of fun with them. My solutions, I like to look at systems. I look at it and say, mentoring will never pervade the culture unless it's team mentoring, because you can't get enough mentors. There are lots of kids that want them and they can't get them. So team mentoring will take it to scale. On the model, I look for models. There's a model in LA that worked during the riots that uses a school teacher, so it's already the location exists, someone who knows the kids. It uses college students, it's somebody young enough to relate to, and it uses a businessman, but then they have a group of 6 or 10 or 12 or 15 kids. And so each mentor is coaching 3 or 4. That helps the mentor succeed. Sometimes the kid doesn't respond. You got 3 or 4, you got a chance one's going to respond, so the mentor stays reinforced in the game. There are other people with them mentoring, so they're not alone. There's not the feeling of loneliness. So it meets some of the needs we're talking about, connection and certainty and so forth. And my view of it is to create a syllabus, which we're currently working on, and when you get to 10% of a school's population, and I've got a breakdown because our foundation is doing this for the whole United States, and you look at the junior high school student, which I believe is every time's critical time, but probably the most critical time, when kids are going from peer group at home usually to a new peer group, when they're going through the first change in their hormones. That's the place that if you can intercede, I believe you have the largest amount of leverage. And so if you can teach these kids to become young leaders, that is, by having Michael Jordan on video share with a story of his life, and they start finding out Michael did not make the varsity basketball team his sophomore year. Right? And he starts telling the story.
I've lived by that for a long time.
And they see that. And then there's a syllabus of what they do that's fun, and they have somebody who's interested in them, and they have other students. When you get 10% of a population, say a school of 1,000 kids, you have 100 kids doing this, 10 groups of 10. You begin to affect a critical mass of the mindset, because when the mentor leaves, these kids know each other and they start setting new standards for how they're going to live their life, and they're reinforced for it. So I set out when I was very young, my family was very poor. We had a Thanksgiving, no money, no food. We weren't to starve, we weren't going to have a feast, we weren't going to have any food. Somebody fed my family. I answered the door. It triggered me. Last year, my foundation, we worked with people, we fed 1 million people last year. It started with me feeding 3 families. So I believe that little ideas can be grown into institutions. And my life is a reflection of that. I built, a portion of an industry that didn't exist in the way that I do it. So I believe that in mentoring, this can be done. So I have right now 100 partners that are all putting up together $1 million to fund the syllabus of this. And we're working with teachers that we're already in about 1,200 school systems with different programs to get a uniform syllabus that can create this leadership program. It's not the whole answer, but it's one. But we need mentors. And people that come to my seminars and so forth, the same people that feed people are the kinds of people I think that can be great mentors. But anyone can do it. It's one approach. There are so many that are going on, and thanks to like America's Promise, I was a part of helping to create that with Colin Powell.
Right.
And it has stimulated that massively. And I think we're making huge progress. We've got a couple million mentors that we didn't have a few years ago.
What did you do for Nelson Mandela?
I didn't do anything with Nelson Mandela. I had a conversation with Nelson Mandela, and I think I got more out of Nelson Mandela than he did me. Someone else put me with Nelson Mandela to see if I couldn't assist him in the evaluation of how he was going to integrate some members of his council. And truthfully, I left with a lot more. Gorbachev is somebody that I helped deal with a transition afterwards of how to deal with the situation that he went through when he was ousted, because all of a sudden he was the devil in his own country. Sure. The very people loved him. But with Nelson Mandela, I don't feel like I really did anything. I learned from Nelson Mandela. I had an experience with Nelson Mandela probably like you did.
Yeah, what did you learn?
I learned what a human being is capable of was greater than I even thought. To have someone take a quarter of a century of your life and not come out with pure hatred and be able to say, to win, like we were talking before we were on the air, to win over your guards as your friends, to honor them as you inaugurate, as the president of the country, to say, I don't care what you did to me, let's change.
And by your personal conduct to demand their respect, in which they gave it. Yeah. But here's the interesting thing about him. For the first half of his time, he was angry, rebellious, and finally, I think
he shifted to preparing.
Shifted to something else.
Yeah.
He shifted to a sense. So you said preparation to you, and he said to me, he just said, at some point I realized that it was not productive.
Well, you know what? That's true of all human beings. I don't care what a human being does. If they have enough time, they'll satiate that emotion. If the emotion is anger, they'll get a point where they're tired of being angry, and then they'll get sad. If they're sad all the time, they'll finally get pissed off just to get out of that state.
Yeah.
Human beings left alone will eventually gravitate to something else unless they get reinforced. Like by being angry, I respond to you all the time, then you learn to get angry because I always react to you. Or being sad all the time, I give you love, well, pretty soon you get sad, you don't even know why, because you want love. But he is an amazing man. He is more than the product of satiation. He is a man who made conscious choices to rise above hatred and anger and to really serve. And I think there are very few people that have lived their life the way he's lived his life, and I think that's why he inspires people.
But some of that comes from just wisdom and the capacity to learn from experience.
True, and it comes from his childhood, because this is his childhood. He was unique even then in the way he was treated, the way he was raised. He was raised to be a leader to some extent.
Do you have any interesting opinions on genes versus environment, nature, nurture?
I think they both play a role. I think to say either one is alone is absurd. When people try to say everything is genetics, it's a joke.
Say genes are destined, you say, forget it. No.
But, I'm 6'7". I was 5'1" in high school.
5'1" when you were senior in high school?
Sophomore. I grew 10 inches in a year. But I had a brain tumor, which I never even knew about, a pituitary tumor, which stimulated this growth in me of 10 inches a year. I mean, I know what growing pains are. It's something physical. And my brother is still like 5'4", I believe.
And so you grew because you had a pituitary
tumor, which I didn't know until
and what did it
10
do
years
to you?
ago. It stimulated, my pituitary gland stimulated massive growth hormone released in my body, and I exploded in size. But I didn't know anything about it, and because I'm a pilot, I every 2 years you go get a physical, and this time the doctor looked at me and he said, "You're kind of like Schwarzenegger," he said, "your cheekbones, everything else," and I didn't know what he's talking about. So he thought I had this challenge, and so without telling me, he took a blood test, and he said, "I want to do an operation on you." He said, "You have this massive excess growth hormone, and you have a pituitary tumor." I said, whoa. I came in, there was nothing wrong with me. Now you want to do an operation? Wait. So fortunately, I'm fairly strong-willed, and I went to about 9 people. I don't think I'm exaggerating, probably 6 different doctors. And it turned out I did have a pituitary tumor at one time, but it infarcated. It swallowed itself up. There's enough of it there that I have about $300 or $400 a day worth of extra growth hormone if I had to buy it on the street as a bodybuilder.
But you did then, or you do now?
I do now. But I don't
So what do you do with it?
I don't grow.
But where does it go?
It makes me young and
No, I'm
strong
serious. I'm
and
interested
virile,
in your...
for God's sakes.
You're a health
Can't
now.
you see that? Where does it go?
So, I mean,
but here's what's
we could use that growth hormone.
That's right. I have some friends who like to borrow some of it, to give them a blood transfusion.
Exactly.
But where does that come from?
No, okay, but is there any danger to this?
Well, here's what's interesting. Here's a great example. The first doctor wanted to do surgery on me just to be safe. My heart valves aren't any bigger. There's nothing changed. Everything's fine. Just to be safe.
It didn't screw up any of your organs.
No, just want to be safe. I can't remember his name, but I came here to Boston to the kind of the father of endocrinology. I can't believe I can think of his name. But I was the last day of his career, is one of his last patients, not the last patient, one of the last ones. He saw me because he was a fan of my work. And he said, "Tony, everything's great." I said, I got to talk to you. I said, "I've talked to all these doctors. They want to either drug me or they want to cut me." He said, "Well, I think maybe you're afraid that if we cut that out, that you're like Superman or that's your kryptonite, or maybe it's like your hair for Hercules." And he kind of teased me a little bit. I said, "You know what?" He said, "The only side effect of taking a drug would be you'd have lowered energy." And I said, "You're damn right that would make me unhappy."
Yeah.
But I said, "Look, why is everybody doing this?" He said, "Honestly, Tony, if I'm a butcher, I need to cut." He said, "I'm an endocrinologist, so I need a drug."
Oh, man, that scares me.
No, it's so cool.
Oh.
I know.
Every surgeon, therefore, I ought to be suspect?
No, not every surgeon. But that's when you're trained to do what you do, and your whole life is about the certainty of doing. You want to help somebody, so you don't.
That's what you know how to do. You don't know the other part.
So in the end, he recommended I take a drug that I'd go take a shot in Switzerland from. And I said, "Frankly, I think I'm going to pass." He goes, "But then you could just be certain." I said, "No, you could be certain." So 3 months later, as a doctor, Steve Hoffman in L.A. is a great man. And he's a facial surgeon. He's a good friend of mine.
I know.
I
don't know him. No, I know.
Yeah, he's a great man. And so he
yet
comes
to have
up.
facial surgery, Tony. I'll get there soon.
Okay. Me either yet. I'll be there someday. He pulled out an article and he shows me that same drug the FDA just says creates cancer. So then Deepak Chopra.
Yeah, go ahead.
Deepak Chopra is a friend of mine. And Deepak, I saw him.
Celebrity has its value.
Yeah, I talked to Deepak and he said, look, and he said, "Tony, you do have very," he said, "but I would never drug somebody. I would never, cut out." He said, "There's nothing wrong, but I'd already decided not to do anything. So do I have certainty? Here's what I have certainty of. I can walk across the street tomorrow and get hit by a car. I have no reason to see there's anything changed in my body, so why would I cut something out or drug myself? I think that cutting or drugging would do something.
Okay, you're telling me that the bottom line of this story is that you left it alone.
Correct. And what my certainty comes from is I decide to be certain. I decide not to question.
All right. So if something happens, you'll say, well, that's a chance I took. I decided to leave it alone. And did you go back to the first doctor and say to him, look, I've been...
We had a spirited conversation.
Thank God you said I didn't let you cut me.
I did. I was very direct with him. I was more direct with this. He said he wanted to cut me before he even had done a scan. You know, I said that's totally inappropriate. When I asked him about the test, he couldn't explain the test. He's very complex. And I said, well, I'm not that stupid. Yeah. Explain it to me. But listen, I'm not on the doctor's case. All of them...
No.
Listen to me. No, hear me honestly. All of them were trying to do what they believed would save my life.
Yeah, so everybody had your welfare in their best interest.
And they were doing it through their model of the world. Yeah. And they were trying to be certain.
And what's the moral of this story?
It's 10 years later, and my body hasn't changed in any way. I'm totally healthy and fine, and I didn't alter. But I haven't. My heart valves, everything they measure is totally fine. Yeah. You know, so all I seem to have is a great deal of strength. A lot of growth hormones. So now you know my secret. My motivation comes from growth hormone, for God's sake.
So tell me this: is there anything missing for you?
That's a great question. I am right now the happiest I've been in my lifetime, and the piece that was missing. And I'm sure there'll be something else because part of growth is, you know, finding something missing, I'm sure. But the thing that was missing was allowing myself to fully enjoy what I was giving others. And I can tell you...
You weren't enjoying it?
I thought I was enjoying it, but it's like telling somebody what a rose smells like who's never smelled a rose. Or what, you know, favorite food tastes like who's never tasted it. It's like, by the standards I had then, I was enjoying it.
Okay, so for a long time you were deluding yourself.
Correct. Because it's a matter of measure. I wasn't.
So the teacher wasn't perfect, was he?
No, the teacher's never perfect. I never pretend to be perfect. I'm not perfect now. But I'll tell you what I am. I'm damn happy. You know, I'm damn happy.
Because you learned to enjoy
because I stopped sacrificing just as my only
okay, let me help you understand this, because I think it's important. Yeah. You learn no longer to be a martyr, which you said earlier.
I don't want to say I was ever a martyr, but I was. I'm sure it's a
little bit. And you secondly learned to enjoy the fact that you were giving and that there was joy to be given. Is that it? I'm trying to make sure I grasp it.
I want to be accurate in my response. The greatest gift of my life is I'll walk down this street in New York today and I'll be stopped half dozen times minimum or a dozen times, and people will come up to me and say, "Oh my God, I love you." I mean, I am so gifted in the amount of love. Huh? It's the great. It's better than any amount of money you could ever earn, any little trophy you could get, or anything else. It's the greatest gift of my life because I've helped millions of people, and they've helped themselves, and I've been a catalyst to it. Right. So, I've always loved that, but I've always felt like I have to give more, do more, and now what's happening is I'm coming to a place of I get to give more and do more, and I let myself have those moments where I just go, wow, tomorrow I'll be on stage, I'm sure it'll happen, and there's a point when the room will be, 20,000 people up to the top of the rafters, and they will be in such a passionate, playful, powerful state, and I know I'll pop out of my body and look at it and go, oh, this is my life. How cool, how amazing, how blessed I am.
You will do that?
Oh yeah, I will absolutely do that, and I'll think about blessed I am. I'll feel so
grateful. Did you not do that 2 years ago?
No, I'd be focused on who's the one person I'm missing. Is there anybody there that's not? Now make sure, and even if they all are, okay, there must be something.
Or is there anybody I haven't convinced?
Well, it's not so much convinced. Is there anybody who's really not happy? My thing has been making everybody happy, and so now I also know, and this I'm still working on, frankly, that I care about everybody, but I'm not responsible for everybody. Because sometimes, frankly, like I did this thing with a suicide. It took 2 people that were going to commit suicide, and I've done this every year, and we follow them up. They don't commit suicide. They're changed, transformed. And I was actually sad because I thought about, especially the guy that was going to kill his kids, because he didn't want them to go through not having anyone there for them. I mean, it's bizarre psychology. And he's a good man. He's a really good man. But I started thinking about all the people who I will never reach. And knowing that I can help and that I'm not, I got myself sadder than hell. It was stupid as can be. And so what that comes from is the ego saying, I care so much, nobody else does. I'm the only one who can do it, which is complete bullshit. So I have to balance that. It comes from a good place of really just wanting to make that difference, but it needs to be in balance with also taking care of yourself. And right now I'm doing that, and I'm loving it. And I know I'm able to help my friends with that. The gentleman I was telling you about coaching, I had a conversation with him today, and he had a day he lost $50 million, which affects your day a little bit. And I was reminding him of what life he has and that his life has nothing to do with his trading and realizing he is tied so much in his
What
trade.
life he has, because he has a loving family, because he has
family, and because this man is a huge giver to contribution to society. There's some people that are in business
because he gets great joy from things, and et cetera.
Because he gives. He's such a giver, you know. But you can't tell somebody that and affect them unless you're experiencing it. It's like, you know, there's an old story, you probably know it, where this woman takes her son to see Gandhi. It's a true story. And she travels, I guess, for 3 days. I forgot the exact time. She took trains. It's forever to get there. And she gets before the Mahatma, and she says, Mahatma, my son is a diabetic, and he keeps eating sugar, and he loves you and respects you so much. If you would just look him in the eyes and say, stop eating sugar, he'll stop, he'll save his life. And Mahatma Gandhi reportedly said, come back in 3 weeks, or 4 weeks, whatever the real number was. And the woman said, no, you understand, we live so far away. And he said, very harshly, come back in 3 weeks. And pushed her away and waved her off. So she's very angry, but she loved her son. So 3 weeks later, she goes through the same trip. She travels forever, right? She gets before him. Now she's before the Mahatma. And she says, remember me? He goes, yes, I do. And he looks at the boy and says, stop eating sugar. He looks right in the boy's eyes with such intensity. The boy's eyes get about this big, and he bows to this, Mom. Yes, Mom. The woman can barely hold it back. She is pissed. She doesn't care if he's Gandhi. You know, she's a mom. Yeah. And she says, why didn't you do that 3 weeks ago? And he said, because 3 weeks ago, ma'am, I was eating sugar. So you can talk a good game, but the power in life, your power in life is you've experienced all kinds of things, and that allows you to connect with all kinds of people. You're a diverse person, and that's stroking you. You know who you are. My power in life is the same. I've been with millions of people in every walk of life, and I live my own life, and I don't bullshit myself. That's not true. I bullshit myself every now and then, but I catch myself, and I go, that's bullshit. Yeah. And when I do, whatever experience I go through, I learn from it, and so I can talk to somebody about it with authority because I really have experienced it, and I can talk about it without judgment because I've been the idiot that did it. So I don't have a judgment for somebody. I go, look, here's what I did. I was dumb. Have you ever done something like that? Here's what I did that changed it, and you can reach most people then.
What's the difference in the people who get it and it sticks,
yes,
and those who get it but it doesn't stick? They can't keep the program.
Standards. It's the only difference in people's lives. What is a must for you and what is a should for you is the difference in your life. Everybody gets their must. If it's a must for you to spend time with your children, I don't care how busy you are, you will. It's a should. You'll want to do it, you'll do sometimes, but you feel guilty about it most of the time. People earn what they must earn, not a dime more. I don't care who they are. And when people change their lifestyle and certain things they're now a must, they always have the money for it because it's a must. People, if a person's not in a relationship, an intimate relationship, it's because it's a must not to be hurt. If they're in a relationship and they're friends and there's no passion, it's because it's a must to be friends, but not a must for passion. If they're in a relationship and they're in love and they're passionate, then that's a must. We get our must. And the difference in the must is I believe people's lives are a direct reflection of the expectations of their peer group.
Finally. Right? Tell me what dreamlife.com is.
Dreamlife is a place where you can enter the universe of how to improve anything in your life from the best teachers around the world, 24 hours a day, and at a cost that's ridiculous because it's free for most of it. There's classes that you can take as well, but you're able to meet people from around the world. You're able to learn everything from how to strip for your lover to how to learn another language to how to be able to trade financially online. It's a diverse world where you can enter the world of improving yourself and meet all kinds of people and have a community that you can be a part of if you choose to. And it's a public company, so it's an investor's vehicle as well for people, and it's something that I'm passionate about because to me, the online world is in its infancy. The second wave of the internet is the media internet. And when we have, full motion video, the equivalent of that with everybody, not having to load a player and so forth, then the internet becomes really the most extraordinary thing in human history. It already is one of them, but I think we're about to see a quantum leap in that in the next 2, 3, or 4 years. And so I'm really honestly